Hello, everybody. I think Johnny Somali's finally going to prison. Finally.
Johnny Somali is going to prison. Well, how about that?
He pissed off so many people.
I'm not gonna go to jail. Not one day in jail. I'm gonna laugh my off when all these are saying I'm going for 30 years, 20 years, 5 years, 10 years. Bro,
Oh,
I'm not even gonna do one day.
You definitely are. You definitely are going there for that amount of time. What he did.
Hey, bro, they're gonna give me a fine. They're gonna say, "Don't come back to Korea." You're the one who's gonna look.
Not just in Korea, everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world. You don't have to just be in Korea and do this. Like, I'm pretty sure everywhere on the planet, people are going to hate you. So obnoxious. Like,
so dumb when I don't get any jail time or anything. Like, bro, I'm gonna laugh.
Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail, has been sentenced to 6 months and 20 days in prison with labor in Seoul, South Korea.
6 months?
On the fucking workforce, bro. They said you're going to turn big rocks into little rocks for half of a year. By the way, it should have been way longer.
Fucking 6 months. That's all he's getting. Wow. Well.
Today, we're going to get that
something
today on the Legal Mindset. We teach you to be around judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney who's been tracking this from beginning to end. And today we're going to break out the exact reasons for the guilty plea, his imprisonment, his sentence, and what happens next.
Is Andrew enjoying his time in Korea too much?
So let's get into what happened today in Seoul, South Korea. So first
I think
of all,
he might be.
Get to my opening statements. Ramzi Khalid Ismail, aka Johnny Somali, was found guilty on all 8 charges. Yeah. So there were 4 counts of business obstruction, 2 counts on the Minor Crimes Act, and 2 counts of the deep fake distribution. Guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to 6 months in prison with labor, an additional 20 days of detention, and 5 years of offender status, with his phones being permanently confiscated.
8 charges, 4 counts of business, 2 counts of Minor Crimes Act, and 2 counts of deep distribute.
But how did we get there?
Damn.
Well, we got there through a
damn. Fucking got him.
Team effort. I started this in front of the same courtroom, and their photo here today is a photo, and once again in front of that same courtroom today. But it was a team effort. My team, the Somali conviction team, worked very hard submitting evidence, submitting facts, and really getting into it with this process where we wanted to have jail time instead of the normal process where foreigners are often just given a fine and let go, which we thought could be a very, very real possibility if there was not more attention on this. And you can see we had Korean media which interviewed us.
A team effort to get this retard put in jail. Bro, so worth it. Completely worth it.
And many people from the team were there.
You've got to rewind that. I wasn't paying attention.
We wanted to have jail time instead of the normal process where foreigners are often just given a fine and let go, which we thought could be a very, very real possibility if there was not more attention on this. And you can see we had Korean media which interviewed us.
A team effort.
Slap on the wrist. Slap on the wrist and let go. That. I guess the majority of people got that going there. But I don't think the majority of people would do things that he's been doing. He was doing. Never again doing.
In jail. Bro, so worth it. Completely worth it.
And many people from the team were there. You've got Professor Ulrich Nod. You've got Kangmin Lee, who's showed up off of X. You've got Atozi. You've got myself, Gabe, another individual.
That's right. That's the guy from Twitter. Oh, my God.
Who showed up, who saw the coverage. You've got Atozi's editor. Everybody worked together. This was a huge team effort. There are a lot of people that aren't even pictured in this that worked together to get this done. And because of the coverage of this and also the coverage in Korean media, as you see here, that actually led to a different result than normal. But let's get into the trial facts itself. So how did the trial start? Well, the trial started packed with observers. Now, the first time I came, there was hardly anybody.
I told you guys, people love to watch an execution. They want to see it. Give the people what they want.
In that courtroom about a year and a half ago. However, today Standing room only. People were standing, sitting on the floor, all there for Somali. They had to put up actually the red tape. They had to line people up. It was very, very much more chaotic than normal. Now, strict security was enforced. People were standing, sitting on the floor, all there for Somali. They had to put up actually the red tape. They had to line people up. It was very, very much more chaotic than normal. Now, strict security was enforced. There was no
Look at the red tape and everything.
No phones or recording, as well as no reactions or expression. At one point, when someone smiled during the courtroom, the bailiff actually corrected them to, hey, no expressions, no, keep it serious, keep it somber. And the judge did remain the same throughout the trial. Now, the prosecutor did change in the spring from the older male prosecutor that was there before.
Trial room packed with observers, people standing, sitting on the floor, all there for some. Well, to watch him get fucking sent to jail, not to see him get set free. But a very small few people in that room would want him to be free.
To a new female prosecutor, which was there today in this case. Now, what happened? Well, first, there was the guilty portion, because first they had to assess the guilt, because Ramsey had pled guilt on 6 of the charges, the business obstruction and the Minor Crimes Act, but still reasserted his non-guilty plea regarding the deepfakes. So the judge found Somali guilty on the deepfakes, as we predicted he would, because a reasonable person of the age and gender of the victims would experience shame at the deepfakes. The judge then went on to say, okay, you're guilty. Now let's talk about sentencing. And he said, in his opinion, there were both mitigating and aggravating factors for the sentencing of Somali.
What's mitigating?
So the mitigating factors that he explained in this case were for that victims Jungmann and Hank Yu did not want Somali to be punished. And there
I don't, fuck that. Fuck that. He gonna do
Victim, really? The victim did not want him to be punished. Well, they got to make an example of this guy. So no more content creators go there and then they do these things, like especially in a country like South Korea where it's very, very high respect. Very, very like being noisy is disrespectful. Being loud and it's I don't know if it's against the law there. I'm sure in certain areas it would be, and he was probably in those areas.
Do it somebody else again. Maybe they won't.
Been a settlement with Jungmann that they tried to get the charges dropped. So they weren't dropped, but the judge did say he did factor that in for mitigation. They also said that victim Bong Bong did not experience severe shame or embarrassment. And had she experienced more severe embarrassment, perhaps there would be
I wish I could read more of what's...
They also said, and this is very interesting, that the travel ban and the inability to return home were technical disadvantages for Somali.
Well,
that was very curious to me, because if he had been allowed to leave and go home, he clearly would have not come back and not face any punishment, never gone to jail. He would have just not come back to Korea. However, he did bring up aggravating factors. The aggravating factors he brought up were that Somali repeatedly committed crimes primarily for YouTube revenue and broadcasted these with no regard for the victim. He
exactly what he was doing. The sole main purpose why he was there was for money, obviously, not just to be an idiot. But
also said that Somali showed clear disregard for Korean law. This is something he understood from the files that
He went there because he thought he could get away with it. That's why all these guys fuck around in Korea and Japan, and none of them fuck around in China.
Yeah, that's so true. That is 100% true.
That's the real reason. And that's why I think they need to come down.
They're very passive. Not all of them. They just tolerate it. They try to ignore it, but then, you know, these creators, they'll come back and then they'll do it more. They'll just do it more and more and more. So with Johnny Somali, you got to make an example of him.
Hard on
100%.
And the Somali conviction team submitted to them, showing that he didn't care about Korean law, disrespected the judge, the prosecutor, and really the Korean system at large. He said that the Korean system is an absolute joke, and because of that, he wanted to show how much of a joke it was.
Exactly.
Shout out to President Yoon. F the judge. fucking prosecutor. Y'all can suck my dick, bitch ass niggas. Yeah. Suck my dick on soft.
Now, he also did bring up the risk of repeat
How do you let
copying.
somebody like that out?
He's saying that because Johnny Somali is a type of streamer which can be copied and repeated, this is a risk, and they need to set a precedent to deter other streamers from coming in.
I guess
now,
he's not
whether
afraid
or
to go
not
there for 6 months.
Will actually deter people is up for debate. A lot of people, even myself included,
I
think
said it
it's
should have
not
been like
severe enough to deter everybody.
should have been like 20 years. Should have been. Just that 6 months is still considered like, I don't know where he's going though. I heard he's going to a prison labor camp, but I can't see it being like as bad as like a North Korean labor camp. Something, because like they have no rights there in South Korea. Tons of rights. So.
Or perhaps it can be some sort of deterrent. But he did factor that in as an aggravating factor.
6 years.
So
I'm pretty sure it'd be just like working a job that's like labor, heavy lifting, all of that stuff. But being fed though, and having like an adequate amount of sleep as well.
So when he handed down the sentence, he explained very clearly it was 6 months in prison with labor. That will be in a specialized prison for labor, also in a prison for offenders, because he had 5 years of offender status. So he can be nowhere near women or children. And he also has to be away from certain types of locations as well. So he can't do all sorts of labor, but he will be laboring in prison. He also will have an additional 20 days of detention, and his phones are permanently confiscated. He will never get back that Galaxy.
His phone's confiscated. That means that he's
again. The judge also explained
that seems kind of normal.
There are several questions about flight risk and whether he would be immediately detained. They gave him the option to remain silent, but instead Johnny Somali decided to speak and decided to lie even more. When Somali spoke, the judge...
So let me get this straight. So even in his sentencing, whenever they're delivering the verdict, he's still running bullshit on him. Like, what is wrong with this guy?
The judge asked him if he was still a student. Somali lied. He said, yes, Arizona State University. We all know this is untrue. He hasn't been a student for quite a long time. The judge asked if there's any other reason why he should not be immediately detained.
We need to have an investigation into Arizona State to figure out how a person with like an IQ of about 53 managed to get into a higher learning university. We really should figure out how that happened.
Very good question. My assumption is he's got rich parents. The only fucking opinion, or I assume.
Because I think somebody made a mistake there. Somehow a mistake was made.
Somali said, I have family in my home country that I miss deeply. And I know I have to pay for my crimes, but I'd be grateful if you gave me a second chance because I think I can do better. Well, the judge kind of ignored this plea because it didn't actually answer the question of why he shouldn't be immediately detained. Of course, they're not going to let him go home. That's ridiculous. He's already been sentenced. The prosecutor stated, in fact, that he does pose a severe flight risk and should be detained immediately.
Of course.
Now, he was given another chance to speak to kind of respond to the prosecutor. Somali again lied and said throughout the court proceedings from 2025 to now, I have refrained from doing anything to harass the public.
Why do you even
so
talk?
I feel this has taught me a vital lesson. Of course, we know that's not true. We have the sexual harassment charges that were filed based on his activity during that period, and those are filed in the Eastern District. We also had several instances where he was harassing people in public, where he was insulting people, getting drunk. So we know that's not true. But the judge said, okay, really, that none of that is relevant. We're going to find a significant flight risk and detain him immediately. So the judge then explained that there's 7 days for both Somali or the prosecution to appeal. This is very important because the prosecution can find that this was too light. They recommended 3 years, and he
only 3.
No, well, better than 6 months.
Only got 6 months. So the prosecution has a chance to go back, go to the
6 months. And say, that's nothing. You could say fuck. I wish he would say like fuck you to the judge or something, and then the judge gives him. Maybe not. I don't know. He'd have that video saying fuck you to the judge, so it wasn't in person, but
no, we need more time. We think this is not fair. Somali can also try to appeal this, but the thing is for Somali, where appeals really aren't going to work in his favor, is the average appeal takes about 6 months. So if Somali is angry about this...
I'm a sun sneezer. Look at light.
He has to appeal from jail.
So, wait a minute. So if you want to appeal your 6-month jail sentence, it takes 6 months and you have to wait in jail.
Oh, wow.
I like this. Gotcha, bitch.
Jail. So while he'll be in jail, he'll be serving that time.
Oh, he's going to be in there for half a year regardless.
Well, his term will probably be up. He'll probably be at the end of his sentence where he's already served that prison labor. Now, the bailiff did escort Somali out after that, after they explained the chance for appeal, the 7 days for appeal. His possessions were taken. Somali seemed to be prepared to go to jail as he brought a full backpack with all of his things. And he was...
That's sad, man. He knew. Like, it's crazy. Honestly, it's almost surprising to me because, like, this means that he was, like, maybe his IQ is all the way up in, like, the 60s. That's pretty good, right? Because, like, I mean, this
60 IQ? No. Sorry, but you can't be home alone if you have 60 IQ. Like, it's too dangerous.
This means that he can comprehend and understand, like, a future state of events. That's big. I didn't know that we were operating on this level of reasoning here. Like, that's, oh my God.
Handcuffed.
Perfect rock breaking IQ? Yeah, I think he's perfect for turning big rocks into little rocks. I do.
Immediately and taken to a side room where he'll be bussed over to the detention center, and they'll eventually decide which prison to send him to. Yeah. After Somali left the room and we saw
they don't even know what prison he's going to.
All the observers left. Now, Korean media was waiting outside, and myself, others, Atozi, we were interviewed about how we felt about it, and we gave our true opinion, which is we are happy that he was proven wrong, but we think that he deserved more time there.
Absolutely.
They also asked us if we were talking as YouTubers or Americans or whatever, and I answered that we're talking...
I'm speaking as a citizen of the world, okay? Should have put him in jail for at least 5 years. At least 5 years, and...
Honestly, I thought he was going there for like fucking 30 years, but no, nah. It's 6 months, half a fucking year. Who knows, maybe when he's in there, he'll do stupid shit and get more time added, I don't know.
Live stream
hard
the
labor.
whole thing. Put a camera in his fucking cell and then have people be able to TTS donate to it, and it plays a sound. And it can flash a light. That's it. That's what I would do.
Stick a camera in his cell. Have people... You know how much money he'd probably make if he did that? People would be trolling him. Make it flash like a fucking strobe light. No, might be
if that was me, that's what I would do.
As people interested in the truth.
That's what they did in Guantanamo Bay. Remember that? Back in the good days?
Wouldn't let people sleep.
Bring that back.
Interested in revealing the Korean court process and getting the truth out there, both to Korea, Americans, everybody, and making sure he serves the time that he should serve and he's punished appropriately. So here's my judgment. Somali was proven wrong when he said, I promise you I won't spend 1 day in jail.
I know for a fact I'm not going to go to jail. Not 1 day in jail.
I'm going to show you guys how far I can push the boundaries, and I'm going to show you that the Korean government is not going to do anything to me. The Korean legal system...
See, this is the mind. This is the mind of people that are...
The Korean people, they did a lot of things to him. When he left the hospital and stuff, like, they're not going to do a thing to him. I bet the people in the prison are waiting for this guy. Like, they're going to get a tip, and they're going to be waiting for him.
Outside of development.
And you think what he got outside of prison was bad, when he leaves the hospital, and then as soon as he leaves the hospital from getting punched in the face, he gets punched in the face again. That could happen to him in prison.
Developed countries. This is the mind
Times
of
10.
a person who has, like, if you bring enough people like this into a developed Western country, they will destroy the country. They will totally destroy the country.
Yep, that's
and
true.
The reason why is because they view tolerance as weakness. They view understanding as inability. They view a lack of action as a lack of confidence.
Yep.
And whenever they're treated lightly and
is
you
so
know,
true.
it's like, okay, well, we understand. That works really well in a place like Japan. It works really well in a place like, you know, maybe Vermont or Norway.
Yeah.
But it
Norway,
doesn't
Netherlands,
work whenever you bring people like this into the country.
Switzerland.
They turn everything into shit.
Like, I mean, if I had to choose a jail system that I'm going to go to, it would definitely be like Denmark or Norway. Have a look, like YouTube it or Google it. Their prison systems are like 1,000 times better than any other prison system on the planet.
That's what they do. This mentality destroys cultures, it destroys cities, and it will destroy an entire country. Every country where this is the dominant mentality is an absolute abject, poverty-ridden shithole.
You mistake
Not
kindness
as
for
strong
weakness.
as people think and perceive it to be.
That
See?
it makes me very.
It's low IQ.
See?
That's
Exactly. It's
the
exactly
reason
the-
why they think that way.
exactly
It's
the words I
egocentric. It's
You got to understand where these people's heads are at.
yeah.
You do. You got to, once you understand he was born in the
It's
US,
an
though,
ego thing.
This isn't a nationality thing. It's not a racial thing. There are white people that do this. There's black people that don't do this. It's a mentality.
Did it switch?
The mentality is the problem.
Okay.
I think there's cultures that have this mentality way more, and there's certain countries where this culture is prevalent, and they're even worse. But the more people you have in your country, and that are in your country that are like this, the worse your country is. It's
Yep.
that simple.
Yep, 100%.
That Somali was
110%.
once again proven wrong on that. However, objectively, 6 months and 20 days is a.
It's funny with the mass
sentence.
migration,
At least
how
2 years would have
these
been
economies
appropriate,
are just gonna-
particularly given the prosecution's recommendation of 3 years. That would have been a compromise where they didn't get the
They're
full
gonna
3
tank.
years, but they also didn't get a small amount. 6 months is too light,
Yeah,
and
I think
because
so
of
too.
that, we strongly encourage the prosecution to appeal, and we will be. Along with the Somali conviction team, myself, encouraging the prosecutors to appeal. We also have the CHS child
Hey,
sexual
there's a
harassment
light
charges
sentence, at
that are
least.
still floating
very light sentence. Proven wrong when he said, "I promise you I won't walk." No, he's only there for 6 months. Might as well be nothing.
out there in the Eastern District. We're going to be encouraging
So he could
that
get- he could
district
get
to
locked
bring
in
those
again.
charges because those charges can be brought while Somali is in jail, and that could result in him being in Korea for an even longer time. But I want to know what you guys think about this final judgment about 6 months, 20 days in jail, and the 5 years of offender status. Do you think that's long enough? Do you think he needs more? And what do you think about the
Way
entire
more.
process?
Way
Until
more.
next time,
I'm happy.
bye.
Look,
But I want to remind everybody that
What-
the
what's
cabbage
this?
plushies are now
It was a good video. Very good
out
video.
Isn't
live.
that
So
from
if you want to
Lost
get
Ark?
one of these cabbage plushies, if you like my coverage of the Ramsey
That
Khalid
mocha
Ismail
seed.
Johnny Somali case, you
Uh-huh.
can get one of those in the link below.
What
That's
the
pinned
hell?
in the comments and in the
Go
description.
get one, guys.
wow. That's a nice little plushie. I have a lot of plushies. I like plushies.
Hey, like, subscribe to that channel, but I was watching a different channel.
This plea because it didn't actually answer the question of why he shouldn't be immediately detained. Of course, they're not going to let him go
His
home. Thank you.
Wow. That's a nice little plushie. I have a lot of plushies.
Eagle Mind. Subscribe. That was a good video. I really liked it. But I am a little disappointed that he's not going to jail for 30 years, but oh well. No scandal. But anyway, that's it for this video. That's all I wanted to show. So, that's it. Thanks for watching. Yeah.